in second half of the show.
Sure, Lord Keys. Without Cupid Joe, and yes, I will keep it real.
Same mic, same mic, same mic.
All right, so St. Mike, Negro spiritual.
Yo,
Jesus Christ.
yo, today
Hot
is
tonight.
a major day for VOV. We on top, we all the way up. Yo, usually, right, we just do our opinion. We don't bother with facts. We don't need to waste our time with that. We just come in here and tell you how we feel. But today, we approach today with some journalistic integrity, right? We recently,
big words from the big words today,
you know, big words for 300, Alex. Yo, so recently, us being the upstanding men of color in this community that we are, some information fell in our lap, and it was some very interesting information. So apparently, a citizen was letting his family out downtown on Front Street. I believe this happened on April 1st. Front Street downtown, part of this urban revitalization project. They wanted to enjoy the city. And a white man in a BMW, a nice BMW, I don't know what kind of BMW, Keith, what kind of BMW was that, you know?
Nah, I was in the front. Look at sharp though. I was like, yo, what?
Nice BMW pulls up, and he decides that he's upset with this guy and his family for blocking the ramp or something like that, and decides to call this gentleman an effing a-hole.
Say
Nigga,
nigga.
thank you. Yo, for some reason I got to the end and it's like, man. Yeah, I feel liberated. Thank you for the freedom, True. Way to keep it real. True, what y'all, he here to keep it real. He here to keep it real. Evan a-hole nigga, right? And not with the A, with the ER, right? You know, like the ugly one, the ER, right? And so this man says, okay, you got that. He sees this man, this BMW, pull into the City Hall garage. And he situates his family, he follows the car, and he takes a picture of the license plate. And he goes inside, and at this time, he doesn't know who this guy is. But he knows he went into a City Hall garage, so I'm going to follow this man in here and find out who he is.
You do got to call, it might be him.
They're going to have to wait. Or you, if you want, you can put him on hold.
We're going to put you on hold, you can wait, Carla, okay? But you're on the air, but just wait.
All right. Make sure you mute that, because I know we're talking, right? Okay, so he goes into the, they go into the garage, they follow in, they make the complaint. At least this is how the story goes. He goes and makes a complaint, and they do the investigation. It comes back that not only is this the car belongs to an employee, but this car belongs to the chief development officer appointed by the city manager at Augustus. Drum roll, Mike Trainer. Disgrace in the name Mike, if this is true, right? So, so Mike Trainer is the owner of this vehicle, and Dr. Malika Carter, the inclusion officer, seems to have led the investigation on this, and found that in return to correspondence to the citizen, the citizen's going to remain nameless. There's some speculation about who the citizen is, but we have yet to verify that at this moment. But we do know that this actually has been filed. This complaint has been filed with City Hall, and the inclusion officer, Dr. Malika Carter, the black lady they brought out here to answer to the city's uprising, saying that this is a racist place here. So they say, hey, we're going to bring this lady here, create this office, this position, and Dr. Carter, she comes in. She leads the investigation, and she finds that that they could not prove that they called him a nigger. She says racial epithet, but however, she did find that he did say something to him. And for all the listeners, you can go to Voice of Voices Facebook page. The documents are up, or you can go to Truth the News blog. We have pictures of the vehicle in question, driven by the city employee when he allegedly made this nigger comment, the rant. So that picture's up. The picture of the actual city correspondence on city letterhead is up. And so now, a couple questions, right? So it said that something's being done. It didn't say what's being done. So a couple questions, right? Before I get into any questions, what are the immediate questions from you guys? When you hear the story, what are the first things? What's the first questions that you have?
I don't really have questions. I told you, I know. I want to keep his name nameless if you don't want me to say his name, but because you know,
I want to verify it first.
I do have like I don't have no validity on this, but I do have solid information, solid like a kind of like a almost rock that's almost hard.
And I I want to ask Nate.
I have
Nate what happened
so
when
I do have biased beliefs on what happened in the situation.
Okay.
My thoughts are biased on it.
Okay.
So
I need to hear.
and for one, like, cause I can't say his name, so I can't really give a lot. Like, I don't know. Like, should I just say his name? Like, why do we have to? Why we shouldn't say his name? I don't know.
Well, why are your thoughts biased? Because it's racial?
Is the person gonna call?
There's some. Well, let's take. Well, we're gonna hold off on the call. So somebody was like we contacted the person in question that the complaint is attached to, and in attempts to verify if it was them, and then they asked they were to call in and respond to it.
All right, so my question is, Nate.
So I'd rather talk to him. That's gonna call.
Right. We don't know what type of response, like what type of consequences they're gonna get for this.
But my question is, all right, so what happens though? So you're in public and you curse somebody out and you call them a nigga.
I don't think that the diversity chief officer
Like what's verification?
officer
Said
whatever label she has, I don't think she can really do a whole lot with what he said.
Excellent point. Excellent
You know what I'm
point. So we contacted. So in our doing our due diligence, our journalistic hustle one too.
Diligence.
Right. We called. We contacted the city manager's office, and apparently the city manager was unaware of this. Or at least that was the feedback, that they were unaware and they were going to get back to us. That has yet to happen.
No. All right.
All right. Let's get the report.
This just in from Truth It News of the 5 o'clock shadow, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. This is Truth It, and we have breaking news at massappealradio.com. We just got word that we did get contacted by the city manager's office, and the statement reads as follows. Unfortunately, due to the nature of this event and it's a human resources situation, we cannot reveal what happened during the investigation or what happened as far as disciplinary actions against this person. They will not confirm nor deny if anything was said in a racist nature, but they did say that racial epithet was not said. Therefore, unfortunately, all we have to go by is since they're not revealing what was said, what derogatory statement was said, because they admitted one was said, we can only go by what the victim says happened, because they are not releasing their side of the story. We went to them for their side of the story. They did not give it. So now we are only left with the victim.
Okay. So a couple more pieces of information. Thank you for that report, Truth It News.
And that's what I
And
wanted
5
to-
o'clock shadow on Massappeal Radio. Make sure you log in, tune in, log in. Yeah, but a couple more pieces, right? So we contacted the two counselors of color. Counselor Christian King he hadn't heard about it. He just arrived in town and he's looking into it. Counselor Sarah Rivera statement was that it's against charter for council to speak on those matters. But she did want to make it known that she continues to fight against racial prejudice and bias in the city. That was the comment from those camps. And to the inclusion officer, when we look for the Dr. Carter's job description, it cannot be found. And so, like, this is like one of the main problems that should be addressed in this. In the research.
Hold up. You said that you looked at her what?
The city, there was pushback in the city saying that this.
I already met this lady. This lady's a cool lady.
Right. So the city said that there's pushback. You also supported, shared some of Moses Dixon, so I don't know where you at. But anyway, there's pushback in the city, right? From saying that this is a racist city. So they have these faux dialogues, race dialogues, right? The Department of Justice comes on here and does nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And just shows up and looks pretty, right? Yep. And they say, hey, we know what we'll do. This is how serious we are. We're going to create this position, and she's going to come in, and we're going to bring this black lady in with a doctorate, and she's going to address it. And the first thing, and so that I think that if that's the case, her responsibilities and authority should be clearly defined, right? Doesn't that make sense? There's no job description for her position. So how effective can she be? So in doing this research, some people I checked with a couple sources. I did my work on this. Shout out to me, right? and shout out to Truth It too, right? And interview Voices. But there was some pushback. They felt that it was kind of unfair to hold the inclusion officer accountable for this because it wasn't necessarily her responsibility to address racism. She's there for diversity. And my pushback on that is, well, how can you going to address diversity without addressing racism? So that's all the information on that. Maybe we want to check with the caller.
So caller, are you still on the air? Yes?
Yep.
I'm here.
All right, are you the victim?
Yes, I am.
All right, so can you tell us what happened?
So on April 1st, I was driving my mom's vehicle. I was dropping them off at Midtown Mall. She was buying a dress, a little shop there right at the front. And I pulled over to the side, and without noticing, I had blocked the entrance to the on-ramp into the City Hall garage. As they were getting out, I looked to my left, and I noticed there was a blue-colored BMW with his blinker on, and I looked back over and I saw that I was at that point in time covering the on-ramp, so kind of hurried my family along. And at that point, once they closed the doors and got out and across the street, I moved my vehicle forward, and my window was down, driver's side window, and the BMW's driver's side window was down as well. As I moved forward, I crossed his window, and at that point in time, I heard that individual very clearly state effing a-hole N-word. In my head, I was like, really? And at that point in time, it was like, how is that even possible? This person saying into City Hall. A million things are going through my head.
So
one of those
like-
things is, first of all, I'm Hispanic.
So he said effing a-hole N-word to you. Like that in that order? All right.
At that point in time, he turned into the garage. A little further up, there were some
That's not
parking
proper
spaces
etiquette
across the
swearing.
street from
Is it?
the Asian restaurant there. So I pulled in there quickly, turned my vehicle off, got out, walked, kind of hurried over to the on-ramp. I walked down into the garage, and at that point in time, the individual that I saw was entering the building. He was holding the door in his hand. And I said, "Excuse me, sir, what's your name?" And at that point in time, he said, "That's none of your business." I was like, "Sir, what's your name?" And he said, "That's none of your business," once again. And I said, "Do you work here at City Hall?" And he said, "Again, that's none of your business." I said, and that went on for a couple more times, him denying to identify himself. So at that point in time, I told him, "Okay, that's fine. You want to do this the hard way? I'll just follow you where you're going." And he replied by saying, "You know what? Let's get a cop involved." I was like, "Yes, please, let's." And once he saw that I wasn't backing down, and I said, "Yes, let's get a police officer involved," he then backtracked and said, "You know what? Stop stalking me. Stop following me. You're stalking me." I was like, "Sir, I'm not stalking you. I'm just asking you to identify yourself within a city facility." At that point in time, I went back to the whole thing. So I was like, "You know what? I'm going to walk away. I saw where you parked. I saw your car. I'm going to take a picture of your car, your license plate, and your parking tag." And at that point, I walked away and did that. Once I did that, I went up to the mayor's office, and I was instructed to go to HR. Went to HR. HR instructed me to go to the law department. Law moved me to the city manager's office. I'm sorry, I missed a step there. I went from mayors to city managers to HR, from HR to law, and then law back to the city manager's office. So the last time I went to the city manager's office, they had me sit down and speak with Nicole, the city manager's chief of staff. She took down my report, what had occurred, and then she said she was going to get back, a person from the city, an investigator from the city would get back to me. Within about an hour or so, a representative, her name was Teresa Richard Esquire. She was an attorney for the labor relations specialist who's an attorney. And she set up an appointment for the following week for me to go in and sit down and speak to them. So I went in, spoke with them. I told them what happened. They asked a few questions. So it was Teresa and then also Dr. Malika Carter, who's the chief diversity officer for the city. We went over the questions. They had a few questions, asked me what happened. We gave them all the information. A week later, I went back in, sat down with them, probably a week and a half, about a week and a half later. And they had told me that they had identified the person, that due to HR policies that they could not tell me who that person was, and that I had to just believe in the system, that the system would, after the investigation was concluded, would bring just ramifications to that individual. So I said, all right, I'm going to let you guys continue work, and they offered also to have me sit down with the individual. So I agreed to. A week and some days later, we set up the appointment. I went in on April 22nd in that area, in that time frame, and I again spoke with Dr. Carter and the labor relations specialist, Teresa Richard, and they both said, this is what's occurring. We did find they didn't say his name, they just said the employee. They, again, refrained from saying his name. They found the employee at fault for saying effing a-hole, and that there wasn't enough evidence to find him at fault for saying the N-word. So, and then they said, we're going to bring in the individual because he wants to speak with you and he wants to apologize. So the individual entered the room. I stood up, shook his hand, said my name, and once I shook his hand and I said my name, he shook my hand, said hello, but refrained from saying his name. So at this point, he's just protecting his identity. So common courtesy says if someone shakes your hand and says their name, then you're supposed to say it back. But at this point in time, he's just protecting himself and the city. He apologized for saying effing a-hole and then refuted that he said the N-word. At this point in time, I told him, I don't accept your apology because you're not being true to what you said, and you're only taking responsibility for 2/3 of what you actually said. At that point in time, he stood up, walked out, and I had a conversation with Teresa and Dr. Carter that made me feel like those individuals were really just being tight-lipped and keeping to themselves and protecting the city and making sure that I knew that I had the right to say something, but also to kind of be cautious of what I'm saying because I shouldn't have to relive the experience if I go public or anything like that. So that's like the majority of the bulk of what occurred.
Restaurant all the time.
Okay.
All right, we got a couple of questions we want to ask you, all right? And you know what? I really do apologize that you got called those bad names in front of your kids, so that's messed up. But Trooper Joe wants to ask you a question.
Yeah, I also apologize that you had to go through such kind of nonsense.
I'm very factual on this. My kids, I don't have any kids that live with me here. So it was, my family had already crossed the street. They, fortunately enough, did not hear what actually was said. So I just want to make correction on that, please.
Oh, all right, my bad.
Yeah, I want to, I extend an apology to you too. Hopefully that, this really what, all that bad. I got a couple of questions. Did he look at you when he said the words? Or did he just drive by and he just kind of was just talking, effing in and just kept on driving and you overheard the words because the windows were down?
Did you hear him?
They were directed towards me. Clearly and decisively, those were the only 3 words he uttered, and he was specifically speaking in my direction, and I do believe 100% that he uttered the words and he directed them directly to me.
And then his response to this whole thing when you met him face to face was that, did he say that he can only recall 2 words, or did he blatantly say, "Oh, I just called you an effing a-hole"? Yeah. Did he get that?
Did you hear that? Hello?
Well, yours works better. You can ask him.
Say his name.
Ask
Hello?
him when I say.
Do you hear me?
You said I am.
I think he left. I think he missed. I think he dropped call. He's probably underneath the City Hall bridge.
Call it.
Caller? He dropped the call, but we can discuss it.
So
Maybe he'll call back.
one of the things that I wanted to ask him, right, was your position. So you immediately think like what are the haters? What is the position, the powers that and what's the not currently making this? What are the Gaffneys and the Lukes and even the Augustus's and your Aiden Kearney's gonna say, right?
Hold on, caller, you're back. Well, Mike was asking me a question. Hold on a second.
Caller, you there?
So the question you asked is, did I just hear him over say something or just hear it passing by or anything like that? No,
Yeah, did he look
that
in
was
your
a
direction,
statement
Mr. President?
that was made directly to me about me, and I feel 100% confident that he meant those words and he meant to direct them in my direction.
All right, thank you. Mike, should I say Mike?
The second question.
All right. So, did you want to ask the second question too?
You right, old timers kicked in.
All right. So caller, right?
He said old timers.
You there, caller? Caller? Okay.
Because you're, I came very low.
All right. Do you have your radio on? Can you turn your radio down?
It's in the sky.
All right. But you can still turn it down though. All right. So if he's on the phone. So my question is this: immediately when we like,
Yeah, we can hear you.
all right.
I got one more after Mike. Not a question.
So
The headphones would be good.
my question is this:
Think it broke.
You're just talking to Mike right now.
all right. So that's crazy. We gotta do that. All right. So my question is this: and when I started digging this up, I started thinking about what the response was going to be. Right? And so I noticed how long this was covered up. There was no mention of this for about a month, right? And for whatever reasons, that's how it stayed. But I started thinking about what is going to be response when it hits the fan. What's Gaffney's response going to be? What's Luke's response going to be? What's Aiden Kearney's response going to be, right? Even what's Augustus' response going to be? And so even my man here, when we first started discussing this, to be completely honest with you, he said, I don't know, I'm skeptical because this guy has like a bit of a reputation. What do you think? What do you say? Are you prepared for the backlash or the pushback on this because of some of the things that your name may be associated with in the city?
And I want you to know that was me. Nate Peter Gostat said that has those skeptical views. But I just want to keep it real with you. I do. So let me hear why this is valid and give me your side of the view, your point of view. I'm not picking no sides right now.
So I'll put this in a generalistic standpoint. We as humans, we as citizens, we as residents of the city of Worcester have our rights, no matter what a person may or may have done in the past. That everybody has that right to make the complaint if someone does something wrong against them.
Right.
At no point in time does an individual lose those rights simply because of an action in their past.
But you have did a complaint, so you didn't lose those rights. But if you're if you're naive enough to believe that because of your history, people are not going to judge you because of what you did in your history. That's kind of like not realistic to me in my views.
Well, it's not that I'm being naive. I believe that what occurred was something that needs to be brought out. So the past that there does not play in effect today. Does not play in effect that Mr. Trainer said what he said. At no point in time did Mr. Trainer know who I was prior to him saying those words.
That's right.
So chose to say those words to a citizen, to a resident, and just because that resident happens to be somebody that has a past that looks
Yeah.
it doesn't automatically say that that person is going to make something up or that that person doesn't have that ability or that right to put forth that complaint and be heard in a proper manner and be actually thought of as someone, wow, that shouldn't have happened to that person. But because an individual might have a questionable past, that means that person no longer has that right to feel bad about somebody talking to them in a derogatory, racially biased way.
I totally agree with you, but Chupa Joe got something to ask you, and then
Oh, yeah.
Mike got something to ask you after that.
No, I
just got a comment. I applaud your courage. It takes real courage to stand up for an injustice, and if you were injustice, it was an injustice done towards you. somebody was insulting your character, insulting you as a man, insulting you on many different planes and everything, and you stood up and you stood right in the face of the organization, not just of Worcester, but any organization, for your rights. You have the rights to say, no, I don't agree with any of this kind of behavior that's being forced upon me, and I want restitution for this. As I applaud your guts and your courage and your steadfastness to go out there and take care of business. So I'm giving you a hooah. Hooah.
So, go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I salute you too. And I hope we can get a campaign started, because I know there's like, I know there's a file box of complaints for state troopers, like Massachusetts state troopers. I'm pretty sure there's like a room full of complaints. They'll be like, nah, let's just leave them in there. That would really do it.
So, hey, caller.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so my last thing is before we let you go, we only got like 3 minutes. Thank you for calling in. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Caller. All right, let me switch. Caller, can you hear me? You gotta turn your radio off. All right, look, we'll let him go. We'll let him go. Caller, thanks for calling. And listen, did you hang up with him?
He can still hear you though.
All right, so caller, we appreciate everything you did, and that you're doing. I'm sorry that you went through that. Keep in touch with us, and we'll keep in touch with you. But my question is this: let me get back on my. I'm saying this mic. What now? Right. So like, I don't think it's our responsibility. I think our responsibility today is just to inform the public that this happened, and this is what our inclusion officer is doing. This is what our inclusion officer is doing in that position, right? And I think a lot of things get illuminated, but the question is, what now? Like, how are we going to proceed on this? One of the callers had asked, has he gone to the NAACP yet? Do we expect the NAACP to do anything? Does he want an apology?
We do have a caller, real quick. I'm trying to listen to you, but I'm trying to respect the caller. What's going on? Who's calling?
Huh? What happened?
Hello?
Yes, are you on the air? Who's this?
This is Brett.
Is this who?
Brett.
Hey, Bat.
Yeah, what you want?
Oh, I want to talk about that guy who was calling before.
Sure. Are you drunk?
Oh.
No, I'm not drunk. What are you talking about?
What you say?
I said I wanted to talk about the guy who just called up before and said that this guy, trainer or whatever, called him the N-word.
Okay.
So how come they're releasing Trainer's name, but they're not releasing his name?
I don't know. We didn't release nobody's name.
I know that the trainer is a public official. That guy's a citizen. Hey, you listen? Trainer's he's an official. He works for us. That guy doesn't. He's a citizen.
You're gonna call this guy a racist, and you're gonna mess up his name in the public.
Yep.
But the guy making the claim, who admits that he's not even black, his name doesn't have to be out there.
What's that have to do with anything?
Here's how we handle things here, right? There's a bigger responsibility on the public official than the citizen. That's how we do things here in this world, right? And so we think that there's a lot of legwork and for that man to do. And when it comes down to us, a public official who works for an openly racist city, we tend to believe the citizen when they say that this man called us a nigga.
The citizen's name then.
Do your research.
Yeah, go give him the website.
Yeah,
Give him the,
go to Truth It and go Truth It News, read the blog. Tune in to us. Maybe we'll have his name next week. So tune in next week. You'll hear his name.
we can't say people's
I don't know if
private
this guy is
names.
not a serial liar. I mean, what's his name?
Time will tell. Time will tell. If he's a serial liar, time will tell.
He's at least
And if
2/3
he is-
to telling the truth.
Oh, we're turning on.
How do you know what race is it? How do you know what race is you don't know his name? That's funny. That's funny. You know his race, but you don't know his name.
He said his race. He said he was Puerto Rican.
Hold on. What we do know is if this guy's a serial liar, we already know that he told 2/3 of the truth already on this. So he's not much of a serial liar.
Yeah. So.
According to your sources.
Yeah, the mic's not on.
All right. You know what? Caller, thanks for calling. Tune in next week. We'll drop his name next week. Okay.
Yeah.
What question you want me to answer? I'll answer for you right now. Let me hear it, nice and clear. Let me hear it. What's your question? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I'm actually the one that's trying to question everything, the whole thing. But everything, you know what? This person called the show and he's questioning what happened and stuff like that. We want to just give people information. So if you want to.
Because he's a public official. Why don't you get that?
He's a public
He
official.
doesn't want to accept the fact that he's a public official.
He's a public official.
Because of the way the radio is set up, we can't say people's private. That we can't. He can't even use your name on the radio because you're a public person.
He's talking over him.
But a public official.
We gotta go. Shout out to me and mine.
You gotta take them off.
Yeah, but we'll-
Hey, thanks for calling, but we gotta go. Our show ends in 1 minute. Because he's a city official, that's what keep on answering the question. He's a city official. That's why
10 seconds
we're
left
saying
till the
his
show's
name.
over.
You can go down there. It's public information. You can go down there and get it.
7, 6, 5.
Okay,
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
where's
Thanks
the
for calling.
voices?
Great ending to the show. Thank you.
Shouts out to me and mine.
Right?
And you got him still
Yes,
airing.
you're right.